The first thing they noticed was the silence. Not the ordinary hush of an ancient burial chamber, but a heavy, breath-catching silence, as if the darkness itself had been holding its breath for 3,000 years. Then the flicker of a torch revealed something that made even the most seasoned archaeologists freeze: the unmistakable outline of a sealed inner door, carved with symbols no one had ever seen before. The tomb was supposed to be ordinary, a minor noble, perhaps a wealthy official, nothing that would change history. But the moment that second doorway appeared, everything the team thought they knew about the burial turned on its head. Someone, centuries ago, had gone to extraordinary lengths to keep whatever lay behind it hidden, not from looters, not from rivals, but from the world itself. When the archaeologists finally broke through the ancient seal, the rush of stale air carried a faint scent of resin and incense, somehow still clinging to the stones after millennia. The chamber beyond was smaller than expected, almost cramped, as if built for secrecy rather than ceremony. And in the center of the room lay a coffin far too simple for a nobleman, unpainted, undecorated, deliberately plain. But resting atop the lid was something beautifully out of place, a single golden ring, perfectly preserved, engraved with the name of a forgotten prince who died before he ever took the throne. The discovery made no sense. The prince's burial site had been found decades earlier, and his tomb, though heavily looted, was thoroughly catalogued. Yet here was his royal seal ring, resting peacefully above an anonymous coffin in a hidden room meant to never be opened. Historians were suddenly faced with two possibilities. Either the ring was moved here long after his death, or the story of his burial was never what they believed. When they lifted the lid of the coffin, the mystery deepened. Inside was not a royal mummy wrapped in gold linens, but a young boy, no more than 12, preserved with extraordinary care. His arms were crossed in the royal fashion, yet his skin was wrapped in textiles belonging to a lower-class household. The contradiction was so striking that one historian whispered, "This child wasn't meant to be found." Lying beside him was a set of miniature wooden tablets, each etched with symbols and fragments of writing. They were not funerary spells, not prayers, but personal messages, short, hurried, emotional, some written by a woman's hand, others by different scribes. They spoke of danger, protection, secrets that could topple a kingdom. One tablet, translated weeks later, held a sentence that would send shockwaves through the academic world. The true sun must be hidden until the storm has passed, but the storm apparently never did. It took months of analysis to understand what the team was looking at. The boy's DNA was carefully compared with samples preserved from royal remains of the same era. When the results came in, one of the researchers reportedly sat down in stunned silence. The child in the coffin was no lower-class boy. He was royal, directly descended from one of the most powerful pharaohs of the New Kingdom. Suddenly, the puzzle pieces clicked into place. The hidden door, the undecorated coffin, the hurried messages tucked away where no one would ever read them. This was not a tomb of a forgotten nobleman. It was a secret grave for a child who was never meant to die and never meant to be discovered. So why was he hidden? Why erase a prince from history? Clues lay in the final object uncovered in the chamber, a shattered ceremonial dagger. Even broken, its craftsmanship was unmistakable. Daggers of this design were used only for royal rituals, especially rituals tied to succession. But the blade had been intentionally snapped in two, as if symbolically ending a lineage. Historians now believe the boy was caught in a violent struggle for the throne during one of Egypt's most unstable periods. Perhaps he was born at the wrong time, to the wrong mother. Perhaps his existence alone threatened powerful rivals. Instead of being publicly honored in a grand tomb, he was quietly buried far away from the palace, protected only by the hope that someday his story would surface. And that day came 3,000 years later. The tablets, once translated fully, revealed a heartbreaking final detail. Someone had planned to retrieve the boy's remains when the political chaos settled. They even wrote instructions for the burial party, directions, promises, prayers. But history moved on. Dynasties rose and fell, and the one child who might have changed the line of kings was left sleeping in the dark, waiting for someone to find the truth he carried. The discovery has forced historians to rewrite parts of the royal family tree and reconsider how many heirs disappeared quietly in the shadows of ancient power struggles. But beyond the political intrigue, there is something profoundly human in this forgotten prince's story. A small coffin, a mother's messages, a ring placed carefully where future hands might find it. A young life desperately hidden, then silently preserved by the sands of time. 3,000 years later, the boy finally stepped back into the light. His secret no longer sealed behind stone, his voice no longer silent.